After washing dishes in a KTV for half a year, I suddenly woke up and found myself in a novel, and my character was the vicious male supporting role. Tomorrow, I will meet my rich father, and then I will be arranged to marry a woman without feelings. After marriage, I will also suffer domestic violence. After the hero met the heroine, he was spoiled by the heroine's family. He showed his love and happiness in front of me every day, which stimulated my psychological imbalance, so I tried every means to destroy his relationship with the heroine. In the end, I was sent to jail, and the hero and the heroine were blessed with twins. The story is about to begin. If you like it, remember to like and subscribe. Hiss, which goddamn author wrote this plot? I have money, free time, and a wife. This is a good life. Why would I ruin the hero and heroine? According to the plot, I was first recognized by the rich father, and then arranged to marry the woman who had no feelings for me. But in the following plot, I chose not to commit suicide and lived my good life in peace. Sophia said she was going to meet her first love. I suggested she bring a bunch of flowers. Mr. David likes white roses the most, don't buy the wrong one. Sophia looked puzzled. This is normal, according to the character setting in the novel, I should stop her from meeting David. In my original moral concept, once married, you should be faithful to your spouse and never change your mind. But the past is the past, now I only like money. I said to Sophia, how about we make a pact to live in peace and friendship? Sophia asked in confusion, what agreement? I smiled and said, you can have fun, I'll keep it a secret for you, and then you just have to pay each time. Sophia was shocked, and she asked in confusion, isn't that how it works in your wealthy circle? Marriage is marriage, it's all for profit, feelings are feelings, everyone has their own A, B, C, and D in their hearts. Sophia was silent for 2 seconds before she spoke. It is common for a man to have affairs with his wife after marriage, but it is not common for a man to ask his wife for hush money. I spread my hands and said helplessly, women are not as reliable as money. As soon as Sophia left, the male lead Mark called me. According to the time calculation, he and the female lead Olivia were already together at that time. He told me how much Olivia loved him, and then casually asked me how I was doing. Sophia had to go to accompany her first love from time to time. According to the original plot, of course, I didn't have a good life. But I don't know if Mark has low emotional intelligence or is doing it on purpose. He doesn't care about me much, but shows more and more affection. I am a rich young man, but I can't even compare to him. How can I not be angry? But now I am really not angry. When Mark asked me how I was doing, I smiled and replied, I'm packing. He asked in surprise, what's wrong? Did you have a fight with your wife? I waved my hand and said proudly, I don't have time to quarrel with her. I'm going to travel abroad for my honeymoon. But I'm not going with her. I'm going alone. Mark exclaimed in surprise, ah. And asked, you are newlyweds and it's a sweet time. Don't you plan to have children? I curled my lips and responded, what's the point of having a baby? Do I have any feelings for Sophia? I quickly hung up the phone after a few perfunctory words to Mark. When Sophia's hush money came, I immediately packed my suitcase and headed to the airport. Sophia got home at night and found the house was dark. She called me in shock and asked, where are you? I lazily responded, watching the sunset in the Maldives. Sophia was confused. The second day after I arrived in the Maldives, Mark and Olivia also came. Mark said that he missed me and hadn't seen me for a long time, so he asked the hostess to bring him here to meet me, but I somehow got the feeling that he was showing off. What's even more outrageous is that he obviously came to meet me, but he stuck with Olivia all day long, and asked me to get this and that. From outsiders, they thought I was their servant. I immediately decided to go somewhere else. Mark was shocked again. He looked at me and said, you spend so much money. Won't your wife say anything to you? I waved my hand and explained, my marriage with her is a business one, she is not supporting me. Perhaps the word support hurt Mark's self-esteem, and his face suddenly fell. After looking at me seriously, he whispered, have fun. Of course I will have fun, I just ask him not to bring the heroine to show off their affection in front of me. Although the plot sets me as a vicious male supporting role, I don't want to be a supporting role for anyone. If a cow doesn't want to drink water, how can you force it to drink water? After playing outside for more than half a month, Sophia finally called me again. This time it was because there was a party that required us to attend together. Without thinking, I suggested to her, then you can bring Mr. David to attend. Anyway, you just need a male companion, and he is also a man. Sophia was stunned when she heard me say this, and didn't know what to say for a while. Finally, she patiently explained to me, because this banquet is very important, both parents are paying attention to it, so she had to take me with her. I thought about it and responded, oh, so you can say I'm sick. I haven't had enough fun yet and don't really want to go back. Sophia was very dissatisfied with my attitude and sneered, "This is the first time I see someone pushing his wife out. James, you are really amazing." I smiled and then said, "Am I awesome? Why do I feel like you women are all so cheap?" According to the original plot, every time Sophia went to accompany her first love, I would make a scene. Later, she got annoyed and simply didn't go home for a few months. I found where Sophia's first love lived and fought with her first love. She also fought with me in anger. In the end, the two families parted unhappily, and outsiders had seen enough of the joke. Is this what she wanted? I said to Sophia, "It's okay for me to go back and cooperate with you, but I have one condition." Sophia asked in confusion, "What conditions?" I said in a deep voice, "My friend's birthday is coming up in a few days. You should go with me and behave yourself. Mark's birthday is coming up soon, and he will definitely invite me over, and we will inevitably show our affection." I originally didn't plan to contact him much, but when we were serving dishes at a KTV together, he risked his life to help me once, so I'll just consider it as a way of repaying a favor. As long as he doesn't go too far, I don't want to break up with him. Sophia agreed to my terms, and I immediately flew back to China the next day. Because the plane was delayed, Sophia waited at the airport for 3 hours. As soon as I reached the exit, I met her dark face. I frowned and said, "Why, you're not happy that I'm back? Then I'll leave now." Sophia suppressed her anger and stuffed me into the car, then handed me a bag and told me to change my clothes quickly. I looked at her and asked in confusion, "Change in the car?" Sophia reached out and pressed a button, and the fender in the middle of the car rose up. She said disdainfully, "Change it. No one is watching now." I slowly looked at her and said jokingly, "Aren't you a human?" In order to avoid being mad at me, Sophia turned her head and looked out the window. I reminded her, "You can see the reflection of the glass, remember to close your eyes." Sophia took a deep breath, but still couldn't stop her rationality from flying away. She turned back, glared at me fiercely and said, "James, you and I got married, so it's legal for me to see you naked." "Oh, then you see." After saying that, I started to take off my clothes in front of her. Sophia felt embarrassed and blushed. I said proudly, "Little woman, you are the only one who wants to fight with me, but I know all the plots. Sophia is the kind of person who can kill you if you use force against her, but will be at a loss if you use soft tactics against her." After Sophia blushed and closed her eyes, I changed my clothes leisurely. When we got to the banquet, as soon as we got out of the car, I held Sophia's hand. Sophia said with satisfaction, "Your acting is great." I looked at her with a smile and said, "Then please reward me $1 million after the banquet, Miss Sophia." Sophia's smile froze and she regretted complimenting me. When I met someone who came to talk to me, I smiled and answered appropriately, not at all like a down-and-out man who had been trafficked for many years and suddenly returned to a wealthy family. Sophia's eyes also changed from surprise at the beginning to a little ambiguous. "Wait, ambiguous?" I was shocked. After the party, I immediately drew a line between us and said firmly, "I helped you this time so that you can help me next time. We are helping each other. Don't think in a distorted way." Sophia seemed to be drunk, leaning back in her chair, her eyes blurry. She raised her hand and tugged at her collar, looking like a female gangster. "You married me, didn't you, just for money?" I said sincerely, "What else? Is it still for your people?" Then Sophia was hurt by my sincerity. She angrily pulled me over and asked me to take a good look at her face. "You don't like me like this, then what do you like?" I made up a random guess. "I like someone like Olivia." Sophia frowned and said, "Isn't that your friend's woman?" I lazily responded, "So what? Beware of fire, theft, and brothers. I am the brother who will steal your girlfriend." She was probably so shocked by my views that she was speechless. It took her a while to come back to her senses. She said jealously, "James, your wife is in front of you." I nonchalantly responded, "So?" Sophia was furious. She tore off her shawl and threw it aside, then she took my hand and pressed it on her collarbone and soft spot. The soft touch was so good. "Fuck, this woman is using her beauty to lure you into submission, right? What are you doing?" After saying that, I tried to take my hand back, but Sophia wouldn't let me. She hooked her lips and smiled, slowly leaning in until she trapped me between the car door and her embrace, and said domineeringly, in front of me, "You say you like another woman, James. Do you want to die?" The posture was too ambiguous, her expression, her words were too ambiguous. For a moment, I almost thought Sophia liked me. Until her cell phone rang, and I saw the note on the screen was only one word, "David." How intimate. Sophia took a look and didn't answer the call. Instead, she hung up the phone. But I was sober now and asked her with a smile, "Doesn't Miss Sophia like other men too?" Sophia was stunned by my question, and I took the opportunity to push her away and reminded her, Miss Sophia, don't forget, ours is just a business marriage. In the original story, Sophia used this sentence to silence me more than once. Now, I took the initiative. However, the consequence of doing so was that Sophia didn't treat me well for several days. On Mark's birthday, I asked her if she would go with me. Sophia asked coldly, if I don't go with you, will you go alone? I shook my head and said proudly, no, I can find someone else. Sophia stared at me, her eyes red as she asked, male or female? I looked at her as if she were a fool, and in an instant, silence was more powerful than words. Sophia was furious and roared angrily, do you believe I will call the police if you dare to ask a woman to accompany you? She must be crazy. If she reports this to the police, she will be the one who will be most embarrassed. But from what she said, she seems to be willing to continue to accompany me to Mark's birthday party. In that case, I didn't want to make things awkward with her. I quickly put on a smile, took her hand and said, let's go. Sophia didn't react immediately and stumbled a step as I pulled her. As she walked forward, she looked down at our interlocked hands, and then the corners of her mouth rose slightly. Mark's birthday party was a grand one. Olivia really doted on him, but among the people who came, except me, who was Mark's friend, the others were all Olivia's family and friends. Mark brought Olivia over to greet us. As the two women shook hands, Sophia said slowly, Mark is indeed very charming. Mark also looked at me in confusion. And I suddenly remembered that I had said that day that I liked Olivia. Was this guy going to make trouble today? I smiled apologetically at Mark and Olivia, then quietly twisted Sophia's waist. Sophia immediately turned around and glared at me. Fortunately, someone came to talk to Mark and Olivia at this time, and I quickly pulled Sophia to an empty corner. I pushed Sophia against the wall and asked angrily, what are you doing? Didn't we agree that you'd cooperate with me today? Sophia responded with a fake smile, how do I need to cooperate? Should I hold your arm like Olivia holds Mark's? Or should I call you hubby? The last two words gave me goosebumps. I was speechless, but I didn't know how to explain. What made me even more depressed was that Sophia looked like she was jealous. But what kind of jealousy was there between her and me? After a few seconds of silence, someone called Sophia from a distance. It must be a business partner. Although Sophia was impatient, she still walked over to chat with the other party. When I looked back, I found that Sophia had already run to Mark's side. Fortunately, Olivia also walked away, otherwise she would probably think that I wanted to stick to Olivia. Mark smiled and said to me, I originally wanted to invite other relatives and friends, but Olivia's family is too high-ranking. I was afraid that other people would feel uncomfortable if they came. I smiled and nodded, changing the subject, wanting to talk to him about career planning. In the past, we had no background or funds, and we couldn't find a job so we could only wait tables in KTV. Now that I have returned to the rich family, and he has Olivia as his backer, it should be much easier for him to start a career. However, Mark said seriously, I don't have any plans for now. I just want to accompany Olivia. She has a sleep disorder. Only when I am with her can she sleep well. I was naive. I thought that such a lofty and serious topic as career planning would not be related to showing off affection, but in the end, I still got a mouthful of dog food. What was even more frightening was that Olivia had just finished chatting with other people and came over again. Olivia took Mark's hand and asked softly, are you tired? Mark smiled and shook his head and said, I'm not tired. You've done so much for me, you've worked harder. Olivia said lovingly, as long as the baby is happy. That's enough. Does the life of the vicious male supporting role have no meaning? Why do you have to show such awkward affection in front of me? I turned around and tried to leave, but I almost bumped into someone head-on. It was the vicious female supporting character Charlotte, who liked Mark and wanted to steal his love away. Unfortunately, she was not as strong as Olivia, so she tried to get me to do things with her. In the original plot, I was in cahoots with her. Not only did we do a lot of bad things together, but also made people mistakenly think that I was having an affair with her. So when Charlotte introduced herself to me with a smile, I subconsciously wanted to avoid her. But Mark didn't know Charlotte's true face at this time, and he even thought Charlotte was a good person. While talking, he winked at me again, and the meaning was very clear. Sophia was not good to me, I should find another partner as soon as possible. Even if I want to find a new partner, I can't find a beast like Charlotte, right? But Charlotte asked to add WeChat, and I was about to lie and say that my phone was out of battery, but suddenly a hand reached out from behind and pulled me over. I bumped into something soft and frowned helplessly. It was Sophia. She put her arm around my waist, stared at Charlotte with a cold look, and asked, what do you want to do? Are you trying to poach someone in public? Although the Charlotte family is not the leader in the circle, it is also well known. In addition, the two families have some cooperation in the business field, so Charlotte is not afraid of Sophia. Charlotte even thinks that even if she steals Sophia's girlfriend in public, Sophia will not break up with her. First, she has to take into account the friendship between the two families, and second, everyone knows that the person Sophia loves is David. Who am I? I am just a poor guy who was brought back by the James family to exchange interests and was despised by his legal wife. After I awakened, I thought that after being recognized by the James family, I would not agree to marry Sophia. But when I arrived at the James family, I realized that I had no choice. Either I went back and continued to live that miserable life, or I followed the arrangement of the James family and married Sophia. So, how could Sophia possibly get into a conflict with others for me? The most important thing is, there are so many people watching here. What if David gets angry and hears about it? Charlotte must have thought the same thing in her heart. She smiled sarcastically and said, "Why are you so angry, Miss Sophia? I just left my contact information with Mr. James. It's not like I can poach him." Sophia angrily said, "Get lost." This word was so crisp and merciless that it shocked everyone present, including the onlookers. Charlotte lowered her face and gritted her teeth and said, "Sophia, I gave you face, right?" Sophia didn't even look at her, she just turned around and asked me, "Do you want to leave her your contact information?" It looked like she would kill me on the spot if I nodded. But I didn't want to have any contact with Charlotte anyway, so I shook my head. Sophia's expression eased, and then she said to Olivia, "This bitch not only wants to steal my girl, but also yours, so you better be careful." After she finished speaking, Sophia took me away without caring about the expressions of the people present. Sophia was walking in a hurry, and I was still a little confused, so I stumbled and accidentally sprained my ankle. I cursed in pain. "Are you sick? Charlotte made you angry, why don't you go beat her up? Why are you angry with me?" Sophia turned around and glared at me. She didn't care about my feet. She just asked coldly, "If I wasn't here today, would you have added Charlotte on WeChat?" I shook my head and said, "No." Sophia's mouth was about to curl up when I said, "Charlotte is not a good person, but Ms. Olivia looks good." "James!" Sophia was furious and looked like she wanted to eat someone. I looked innocent. Sophia probably forgot that David had sent her a message on the way here, asking her to come over tonight. I clearly saw Sophia reply with one word, "Okay." So, since Sophia is thinking about another man, she shouldn't pretend to be nice to me. I told Sophia, "Go to your work first, I'll take a taxi back." Sophia's face was darker than the night. She stuffed me into the car and asked the driver to drive to the hospital. David sent her another message on the way, but she didn't reply, so David called her. Sophia answered the phone and told David that she was on her way to the hospital. David immediately became worried and asked gently, "What happened? Sophia, what's wrong? Did you drink too much or something happened?" Sophia looked down at my feet and simply explained, "It was someone else who was injured, not me." "Someone else?" I deliberately put on a sly smile and moved closer, and asked her teasingly with my lips, "Honey, who is that someone else?" Sophia was probably afraid that if I really spoke out, David would hear it, so she quickly hung up the phone. I gave her a disdainful look and teased, "You're too timid. I told you, as long as you pay the hush money, I can help you keep everything a secret." Sophia let out a cold humph. I didn't expect David to come to the hospital, and he told me not to mind. But if he was really afraid that I would mind, why would he show up here? I suddenly realized that in the story of Sophia and me, David was the vicious male supporting role. Unfortunately, the story of Sophia and me is not a love story, but a story of abuse. Just then, Sophia had an important call and she went outside to answer it. David took the opportunity to ask me, "Mr. James, have you ever considered divorce?" "No." My calm answer made David choke. He bit his lip and asked, "Then can you tolerate the three of us getting along like this?" "Why not?" I looked at him with amusement and continued, "I married Sophia not out of love. If she can find you, I can find someone else. I'm so generous, but you're still not satisfied." David poured a whole glass of water on his face before Sophia came back. And Sophia did not disappoint him. When she came back and saw his embarrassed look, she immediately asked me, "James, what are you doing?" I looked down at the cup of water David stuffed into my hand and couldn't help laughing. Seeing this, Sophia became even more angry and said, "Why are you laughing? David came here because he was worried about me. If you don't like seeing him, just let him go. Is it necessary to humiliate him?" I haven't said anything yet, but she has already spewed out a lot of things. But this is not strange, after all, I am the vicious male supporting role in this book. In Sophia's subconscious, I am a bad man. I will even steal my brother's woman, let alone the gigolo who interferes with my marriage. The vicious male supporting role must be double standard. He can destroy other people's feelings, but he does not allow others to destroy his own feelings. I turned around and took another glass of water, and poured it on David's face in front of Sophia, saying in a cold tone, "Did you see clearly? I poured this glass of water, and I dare to take responsibility for it." David said with a wronged look on his face, "It's my fault. I came here suddenly without your husband's permission." It's reasonable for him to be angry. Don't bother with him. Fuck, what great acting. The author of this book should have arranged for David to entangle Mark and Olivia. Instead, he arranged for David to entangle Sophia and me, a superficial couple with no feelings for each other. What's the point? Maybe we made too much noise, so a nurse came over to check. With the presence of outsiders, I felt more confident and said to Sophia with a smile, "Why are you still standing here? Take your first love home." The nurse's eyes suddenly lit up. When filling out the information just now, Sophia said that she and I were married. Now she actually brought her first love to her legal husband. Who wouldn't want to see and hear such explosive news? Unfortunately, I was not in the mood to keep her company. Seeing that Sophia did not respond, I turned around and left first. I got downstairs and took a taxi. Less than 2 minutes after I got on the bus, I received a call from Mark. He first told me about Charlotte and other people's reactions after Sophia and I left. They were just gossiping about it, and Charlotte said she was going to cause trouble for Sophia. Mark was worried that if these comments got to James' family, I would be scolded. On the phone, Mark asked with concern, "James, how about I ask Olivia to say hello to your parents?" I responded calmly, "No, it's too much trouble." Mark continued, "It's not a problem. As long as I ask, Olivia will do it for me no matter what it is." Another display of affection. According to the original character setting before awakening in the novel, I must have been secretly furious. After all, I had just been wronged by Sophia, and Mark showed affection to me right after that. Isn't this too inconsiderate of my feelings? But in fact, Mark was too lacking in love before, and now he is being held in the palm of Olivia's hand. He just wants everyone to know Olivia's goodness. He is not only showing affection to me, but also showing love to everyone. Fortunately, I don't have any expectations for Sophia now. No, to be exact, I don't have any expectations for love and marriage. I agreed to marry Sophia just to change my life. In this case, I should make good use of the relationship between Mark and Olivia. So I readily agreed to Mark's suggestion. "Okay, then I'll trouble you and Mark." Mark said happily, "It's no trouble. You are my best friend." I asked jokingly, "When are you and Olivia getting married?" Mark was stunned by my question, and then he said a little embarrassedly, "Why are you talking about this suddenly? I haven't thought about it yet." I said seriously, "You should think about it. It's better to get married sooner. Without a vicious male partner like me getting in the way, you should be able to get married sooner." The next afternoon, my mom called me and asked me to come home. Although she sounded unpleasant on the phone, I knew that with Olivia having spoken to them, they wouldn't do anything to me. However, when I walked in, I saw them laughing and joking with William, my younger brother who was 2 years younger than me. In fact, at the beginning, Sophia's family wanted William as their son-in-law, but William had his own lover and threatened to fight to the death if he was forced to marry Sophia. In a state of desperation, my parents suddenly remembered me, who had been trafficked for many years. Coincidentally, the police had just cracked a trafficking case, and they found out what happened that year. Then, my parents found me. In the original plot, the author didn't introduce much about my life experience. He only said that my parents favored my younger brother more, and I didn't get the love I wanted in my original family and marriage, so I was jealous of Mark's happy life, jealous to the point of going crazy and turning evil. But after awakening, I think all this is ridiculous. Everyone has a different definition of happiness. Mark feels that a happy life is not what I want. I know that the James family and the Sophia family have just collaborated on an overseas project, and the team is currently short of people. So I told my parents, I want to join this project to gain experience. My mother was holding William's hand and chatting with him about family matters. Suddenly she heard me say that and looked at me in surprise. Then she laughed and said, "What are you going to do?" If outsiders knew about it, we would be laughed at for sending a young master who knows nothing. My dad also said, "Even if we agree, Sophia's family won't agree." I responded calmly, "As for Sophia's family, I will get them to agree." Maybe my tone was too confident. My parents looked at me differently. To them, I was originally pushed out to exchange for benefits, and if I could gain a foothold in the Sophia family and have a say, wouldn't that be a good thing? So, my dad immediately gave in and said happily, "If Sophia's family also agrees that you join the project, then we have no objection. I nodded and responded, well, wait for my news. When he stood up and left, William rarely called out, brother. I turned around and asked confusedly, what's wrong? William looked at me and said earnestly, aren't you going to stay for dinner? Although we don't have any good wine or food at home, you shouldn't mind, right? I smiled and responded calmly, no, I have something else to do. Since they didn't prepare any food or drinks, it meant that they didn't want to keep me for dinner. Although William called me big brother on the surface, he was actually very opposed to my return to the James family. I didn't want to compete with him for the love of my parents, because I knew I couldn't win. As for me, I just wanted to get more money, live a carefree life in the future. What happened in the hospital that night was also spread, and even reached the ears of Sophia's parents. But this time, Sophia's parents did not pretend not to know, but scolded Sophia. The reason is simple, I have been very close to Mark and Olivia recently, and Sophia's family and James' family can ignore my face and feelings, but they both want to get in touch with Olivia's family through me. I called Mark specifically to thank him, and then Mark told me that Olivia was going to propose to him and that the wedding was also being prepared. I happily responded, let me know when the time is set. Mark said excitedly, James, I want you to be my best man. In the original story, I designed to embarrass Mark at the wedding, which made Olivia furious, and the Sophia family and the James family were implicated, and then they went downhill. So later Olivia sent me to jail, and no one stood up to speak for me. Fortunately, I have awakened and such a plot will never happen again. When Sophia came back, Mark and I were having a great time chatting. I don't know if it was because she walked quietly or I was too engrossed, but I didn't notice she was back. Mark asked about our recent situation, and I said calmly, Sophia should be with David right now. She must have been heartbroken when David acted pitiful in the hospital last time. Mark asked doubtfully, you just let her act like this and don't want to take care of her? I smiled bitterly and continued, I'm going abroad in a few days anyway. Mark asked in surprise, huh? Where are you going? I went on to say, the project that our family is working on with Sophia's family in Australia is still short of people, so I want to go and get some training. Sophia's parents agreed. Before I could finish the rest of the sentence, Sophia snatched the phone away from me. Her face was ugly again, as if she always had a hard time smiling at me since we got married. Sophia hung up the phone, stared at me and asked, who agreed to let you go to Australia? I frowned and said, my parents and your parents both agree, give me back my phone. Sophia refused to return it and said viciously, they agreed, but I didn't. James, I am your wife. I glared at her and said, so what? Can you still stop me? Sophia said with red eyes, try it. After saying these 3 words, Sophia took out her phone and prepared to call my parents. In the cooperation between the two families, my family was in a lower position, so she knew very well that if she contacted my parents, her feelings would be the first priority. But this time it was different. I kindly reminded her and said in a calm tone, Olivia was the one who came forward to ask for help. Are you trying to slap Olivia in the face by making a fuss now? Sophia was probably furious and completely out of her mind. She yelled angrily, Olivia, why don't you just share one woman with 2 men with your friend? Pa! I slapped Sophia in the face. She was in disbelief. Yes, it was really shocking that I, a son-in-law who was not valued by the Sophia family and had no support from the James family, dared to hit her. But I've woken up. I won't go against the male and female protagonists. Not only that, I also regard them as my backers and resources. I told Sophia with a serious expression, even if you ruin my trip to Australia, I can let Mark help me get into the project of Olivia's family group. By then, can you still ruin it? Save your energy and spend more time with your Mr. David. After I leave, you two will be freer, isn't that good? James. Sophia was furious, and then she said to me angrily, do you mind what happened between me and David, or do you want to be involved with Olivia? I shook my head and said with a wry smile, neither. Sophia looked at me with confusion and said, so what do you want to do? I said with a dejected expression, I want to work and make money. The reason I returned to the James family was for love and money. Since I can't get love, I can at least get money. Sophia stared at me intently but didn't say anything. After a long while, she came over and held my hands as I was packing my luggage, and said in a deep voice, you don't have to go abroad if you want to work. Your company or mine, as long as you ask. Sophia, I interrupted her and continued in a gentle tone, there is no love between us. I can give you and Mr. David some space by going abroad, and I can also be more comfortable. This is the best choice. Sophia said aggrievedly, not good for me. I asked in confusion, why? Sophia looked at me with red eyes and said, I don't want you to leave. Ha? Sophia's words confused me. Then Sophia told me that she had known about David's self-directed and self-acted performance that night. She couldn't accept David's kind of person for a while, so she went out to drink to relieve her sorrow. But the more she drank, the more frequently I appeared in her mind. Sophia even said, "James, let's try it." I asked in confusion, "Try what?" Sophia looked at me expectantly and said, "Just to cultivate our relationship." What the hell is cultivating him? I finally got rid of the original ending, but now I am back to the same place after a long journey. Can Sophia guarantee that she will break up with David and that there will never be another third party in the future? Even if Sophia promised, I would not believe it. Love is so unreliable. I just like to make a quick decision and break up. On the day I left the country, Mark came to see me off. He said Olivia was busy with her wedding recently, so she didn't come with me. Mark asked absent-mindedly, "James, will you come back to be my best man?" I nodded and responded firmly, "Yes." "You're just leaving like that?" Mark said, looking around. I knew he was looking for Sophia. The night before, Sophia got drunk and ran to Olivia's house to find him and asked him if he knew I liked Olivia. Mark was shocked and called me immediately. I went to pick Sophia up. But before leaving Olivia's house, Sophia went crazy. She said I liked Olivia, and then she said she liked me. Mark naturally didn't believe the former. After all, he was always there with Olivia every time I met her, and we didn't have any contact information in private. But Mark believed the latter. He said, "You and Sophia have been married for a while, living under the same roof, and you are very tolerant of her and take good care of her in daily life. It's normal for her to like you. Is this normal?" If the original plot goes as it should, Sophia would have hated me to the extreme by this time. It's because I didn't care about her at all after I awakened, and my style of doing the opposite made Sophia feel fresh. Sophia thought I would be attached to her and would be controlled by her forever, but I have to fly away now. Sophia's feelings towards me may not necessarily be love, it was just that she happened to discover the bad side of David and wanted to seek warmth and comfort from me, but I didn't give it to her. The more she couldn't get, the more she was unwilling to accept it, that's all. When I was going through security, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure not far away. It seemed to be Sophia, but I didn't want to turn around and take a closer look. It didn't matter whether it was her or not. I just wanted to go to the world I longed for. After I arrived in Australia, my life was almost completely occupied by work. Occasionally, I would receive messages from Sophia asking me where my things were at home. Suddenly, I remembered that I had not divorced her yet. Actually, I mentioned this to Sophia the night before I left the country, but she disagreed. She looked at the clean house and all the things I had prepared for her, and suddenly she couldn't bear to leave me. People's hearts are like this. Even if you don't love someone, but you have benefited from him and are used to him, you won't want to lose him. I ignored Sophia's plea to stay, and I didn't believe her claim that she loved me. Facts have proved that leaving was the right decision. In the past 6 months when we couldn't meet, Sophia's longing for me has only increased. If I had given in that night and stayed, perhaps we would have grown tired of each other by now. The next time I saw Sophia was at Mark and Olivia's wedding. Sophia was standing alone at the end of the corridor without David. When I walked over, she asked me, "When did you come back?" Sophia asked even though she knew it. She knew I would come back to attend Mark's wedding, and she had asked Mark about my flight back home 800 times. Last night, the car that drove me back from the airport was driven by her. I looked at her and said helplessly, "Sophia, let's talk." Sophia nodded and said, "Okay." During the 6 months I was away, Sophia gradually lost contact with David. I heard that David went to Sophia's family several times to look for her, but Sophia avoided him. Sophia's parents passed this news to me because I was doing well in Australia. In addition to the smooth progress of the 2 cooperative projects, I also participated in the Olivia Family Group's projects in Australia. Now I am no longer the vicious male supporting role in this book. I am just a good friend of the male and female protagonists, using their resources to ascend. The James family and the Sophia family can no longer do anything to me, and they don't know that I have applied to stay there forever. When I told Sophia about this, she was stunned for a long time before she asked with difficulty, "You are not coming back?" I responded softly, "Yeah." Sophia asked with red eyes, "What about me?" "You?" I smiled at her and told her the original ending. Originally, we would have parted in an undignified way, and even wished each other death. I tried hard to change the ending, and I am very satisfied with where we are today. Sophia shook her head and continued, "I won't hit you." Of course Sophia wouldn't do that now. She might not believe what I said, but it doesn't matter anymore. I looked at her and said helplessly, "Sophia, let's get a divorce tomorrow." Sophia cried and said, "I don't agree." I turned around and said calmly, it's useless for you to disagree. After Mark's wedding, I will go back to Australia and never come back. There is no difference between our husband and wife relationship, whether it exists or not. Sophia cried even louder and said in a trembling voice, if there is no difference, then why do you insist on getting a divorce? I turned my head, looked at her and said, give you freedom. Sophia sneered angrily and said tremblingly, are you giving me freedom, or do you want freedom? I tried my best not to look Sophia in the eye and said calmly, I want freedom, too, so can you grant me that, too? Maybe I said this with such sincerity that Sophia's anger was immediately extinguished. She felt upset but couldn't vent her anger. I looked straight at her and said earnestly, let's get a divorce tomorrow, okay? At this point, Sophia knew better than anyone that I wasn't really begging her when I spoke in that tone, but just wanted to part ways amicably. After a long while, Sophia finally uttered one word, okay. She agreed to a peaceful divorce, and I smiled, held out my hand, and then said, then I wish us a happy divorce. Sophia also laughed and asked, after the divorce, are we still friends? If I go to Australia, can I have dinner with you? I nodded and said, sure. Who knows what will happen in the future? I have reshuffled my life, avoiding detours and focusing on the smooth road. The next day, we went to handle the divorce procedures as planned. The moment we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sun shone on us, and I felt a lot more relaxed. Sophia looked at the divorce certificate in her hand with a complicated look in her eyes, but she still tried to force a smile. James, thank you, she said suddenly. Thank me for what? I was a little confused. Sophia said seriously, thank you for making me understand a lot of things, and thank you for taking care of me. Although our marriage was a mistake at the beginning, at least it had a good ending in the end. I smiled and continued, you're welcome. This is the best outcome for both of us. I hope you can find your true happiness in the future. After we said goodbye to each other, I returned to my residence and started packing my luggage to return to Australia. Although I experienced many twists and turns during this return trip, it also made me more determined in my choice. Mark's wedding went smoothly. He and Olivia entered the marriage hall with the blessings of everyone. Seeing how happy they were, I was sincerely happy for them. I used to be jealous of their happiness and did many wrong things, but now I can face it calmly. After the wedding, I embarked on the journey back to Australia. Sitting on the plane, looking at the blue sky and white clouds outside the window, my mind was filled with thoughts. The past experience was like a dream. Although it was painful and helpless, it also made me grow a lot. After returning to Australia, I devoted myself to my work. With my own efforts and the help of Mark and Olivia, my career has been developing better and better. The projects I participated in have achieved good results and have been recognized and appreciated by the company. Besides work, I also made some new friends who come from different backgrounds and cultures, but all have a positive attitude towards life. We get together, chat, and share each other's lives and experiences, which makes my life more colorful. Occasionally, I would contact Sophia, and we would chat like friends and share each other's recent situation. Sophia told me that she had let go of her past relationship and started to focus on her career. I was happy to hear about her changes. Time flies, and a few years have passed in the blink of an eye. I already have my own house and car in Australia, and my career has stabilized. I have also gradually forgotten the experience in that love novel and started a new life. One day, I received an invitation from Mark and Olivia. Their child was going to hold a first birthday party. I agreed without hesitation and booked a flight back to China. Seeing Mark and Olivia again, they looked happier and more mature. Their child is very cute, looks like Olivia, and is also smart and lively like Mark. Seeing the happy family of three, my heart is filled with warmth and touching. At the birthday party, I also met Sophia. She was wearing a proper business suit, and her temperament was more elegant and confident. We smiled at each other, as if everything was over. James, you are doing well now, right? Sophia said with a smile. I said sincerely, well, I'm doing pretty well. You too, you seem to be doing well. Sophia said with emotion, yes, after going through so much, I have learned to grow and let go. Now I really cherish the life in front of me. We talked a lot, reminiscing about the past and looking forward to the future. Looking at the people around me, my heart is full of gratitude. I am grateful that fate has allowed me to experience those setbacks and hardships, which has taught me to grow and cherish. I am also grateful to the friends around me who have always accompanied me and supported me. I know that the road ahead is still long, and I may encounter various challenges and difficulties, but I am no longer afraid. Because I believe that as long as I work hard, I will be able to create a happy life of my own. And those past experiences will become the most precious wealth in my life and will be engraved in my heart forever.